Hello, I'm Eddie Wymberry, and I want you to join me as I talk a little bit about the history of this military barracks here, culturally, socially and military, and I tell you a little bit about it as it affected us as we were young boys. Now the military barracks itself, we're in the parade ring here, and of course the parade ring is now half the size it was originally, because as you can see back here there are houses, and the houses weren't there. They were part of a new corporation scheme put in there, and indeed further development will take along this side of the military barracks itself here. But if you look here, starting over here, the Irish Red Cross are over here now. Well, in the days of the army itself, the ordinary troops, the troopers were stationed over there, the ordinary soldiers, and indeed after them then, when the Barrack carnival came along, there was a different aspect to it, because in there was dances held. Some of the quaint people who used to come with the carnival itself would go in there. Like we had a fella called Young Atlas, and Atlas would come along in there, and he would tear up telephone books and he would bend pipes, and his pièce de résistance is he would lie on the ground and they'd put a plank across his chest, and Johnny Hearn's lorry would drive up on top of him, and everyone kind of, oh my God, this was something big, and it was very big for Waterford. And again we had a fellow called Malumba who used to be in there. He was a black man. He used to bring along all sorts of snakes, and people would be terrified to go in there, but they would go in there to see the snakes because it was exotic again. Now up at the top, the whole side of it here was ranged with all little places selling all sorts of homemade brillantine and everything like that, goodies that you could buy for a penny and lucky dips and what have you. But from a military point of view, as we further went up there, you can see at the top up here on the left hand side, as we look up through the parade ring, you'll see the mess up there was what they called the meeting hall. It was also where they held the religious services, and they held the concerts for the Barrack carnival itself. They were a fantastic item altogether, and everybody used to go up there. Now, in the middle of this whole place here, believe it or not, the troops would assemble in a military sense. They would assemble here, they would parade, and they would march down out through the gates behind their own military band. This was back in the time of about 1914 to 1920. And that leads me lovely into a story about some of the personalities and some of the things that would have happened here. But from the carnival point of view, this was also where they put on all the big things, like the Wall of Death, in which bicycle riders got up there and they went all over this wall on the motorbikes, and everybody was looking at it. It was fantastic. It brought light and brought entertainment to I suppose, the hungry 40s and 50s into Waterford. And it was a great fundraising idea too as well. And they had a fellow up there called Johnny Risco, and Johnny Risco would stand on the top of a 50-foot tower, and he would jump off the 50-foot tower into a huge big barrel below. It was very, very big altogether, and this would be set on fire, and he would jump into that. This man had the ability to actually dislocate his shoulder blades as he jumped into the water, so that when he hit the water he would dislocate his shoulder blades, which means he wasn't going to be killed when he hit the water. That was just part of it. And again, we had a thing that came through the gate here. Everyone was encouraged to dress up in something different, to walk through here and to come up here in what they called the rag. And the rag was a way of raising money, both for the Father Farrell, who was one of the people, one of the driving forces behind this whole thing with the late Sean Cudahy and Sean Cummins. And I can think of piles of fellas that would have come in here. And indeed, Skinny Fannon's wife, Lizzie Fannon, was one of the, she was a wonderful woman altogether. 93 years of age, she went around collecting money for Father Farrell. But it was all to build this Marriage New Church that we have up there called the Holy Family Church. And everything happened here in the parade ring to do with that. And by the way, they only had 3 records here as far as I'm aware. They had one of John Philip Sousa's marches, which they played away. They had Slim Whitman and My China Doll. Everyone was sick and tired of Slim Whitman and My China Doll. And they had a third one, which I can't remember at the moment. But as you came in the gate into the military barracks then, there was another thing happened, because inside the gate they had what they called the gate prize. You paid to come in, and then you qualified to go into the gate prize. And the gate prize invariably was a Chesterfield suite. I know that sounds old-fashioned now, but it was a Chesterfield suite, or alternatively it was a chiffonier. They're all gone out of business now, all these companies, but these were the big prizes that you would go for. And if you won the prizes coming in the gate there, that's what you would get. Now, looking back again into I suppose really in 1914 times, there was, when the Irish War of Independence was going on, there was no way that the troops who were stationed here, i.e. the British troops, had of communications. There was no state-of-the-art wireless communications or anything like that. So the only way they would have of getting something for them is a plane would come and leave the Curragh and come down, swoop low in here over the parade ring and drop the mail, then out over the top of the gate there and head off for the next depot. But actually what happened on one famous occasion was that the plane came in, dropped the mail, The pilot's engine cut out. He barely got over the roof of the barracks, but he clambered and banged straight into Batterbury's pub across the road, and he was mortally injured. But as he was up there dying, literally dying, they sent for all the personnel to come along to try and help him. Now, the first person they sent for, obviously, was the priest, and the priest came up from the local presbytery down here in Ballybricken. There was a wonderful herbalist down there, stroke chemist, further down the street down there, and his name was Daddy Curtis, and he was sent for as well. So they got the ladders in a sort of a precarious manner, and the parish priest managed to get up, clamber up, and as he went into the pilot, as he was dying, looked up at him, and the priest came up to give him the last rites, waved his hand, he said, "Forget it, Father," he said, "I'm a Protestant." So that disillusioned that one straight away. He was unfortunately killed in that accident. But that's just some of the things that happened here. There was millions of little incidents that one could highlight and identify and associate with the military barracks here in Waterford. But to Waterford people, it will always be some place where they can associate with the military, who will never be here again, as in regular garrisons, and the Ballybricken Carnival. And to me, it will always evoke happy memories.